Hello, Year 8. Today we are starting our lessons on financial mathematics, and we're going to be starting by learning more about percentages. Percentages, fractions, and decimals can all be converted into one another. They express the same kind of quantities, and we use these quantities in many aspects of our daily lives, especially in financial matters and profits. Some examples are loans, credit cards, discounts, and profits. To change from a fraction or a decimal into a percentage, you need to multiply by 100. If you have a percentage and you want to convert to either a fraction or a decimal, you're going to divide by 100. To go between the fraction and the decimal, you will press the SD button on your calculator. So for example, if I have a fraction like 3/8 and my calculator gives me this answer, if I need that to be a decimal, you press the SD button right here, and however many times you press that, it will keep converting between the fraction and the decimal. Okay, so let's practice the conversion. So we have the wordy version up there, but the diagram hopefully makes it easier. We want to convert each of the things in question 1 into a percentage. If we are going to make something a percentage, we need to multiply by 100. So we are going to put 19/20, and we're going to times that by 100, which gives us 95%. So part B, we have 3/8, which is a fraction. To turn that into a percentage, I'm going to multiply by 100. So because 75/2 doesn't make much sense as a percentage, I'm going to press that SD button and write that down as 37.5%. It works for decimals as well. Decimals to percentages, you times by 100, and if you need to, you can type that in. But timesing by 100 just jumps the decimal place over 2 spots, so that's 30%. And 0.04, times that by 100 to make it a percent, so jumping over 2 places, that will make that 4%. Question 2, we have percentages in question 2, and we want to turn them into fractions. So using our diagram to go from a percentage to a fraction, we want to divide by 100. So let's divide all of these by 100. You can do this as a divide sign, or you can do this as a fraction sign. It means the same thing. Because I want fractions, I'm going to do it with the over 100. Okay, so all of those, we're going to divide them by 100. In the calculator, 37/100 doesn't simplify, so the answer is just 37/100. For B, we have 58/100. This time it simplifies down to be 29/50. In question C, typing in 124/100, that's going to simplify to be 31/25. And for D, you can use the mixed numeral button to do the 6 and 1/2, and then we want to put that over 100. So it's 13/200. Okay, part 3, we want to convert the percentages to decimals, which is still the same arrow here. If we have a percentage, we need to divide by 100. This time, again, it doesn't matter if you use the divide by 100 or the over 100, but we need to divide by 100. If you do the over, then you're going to get a fraction. So it may be easier to use the divide button, so it goes straight to a decimal, but it's 0.93. Okay, so we're going to divide this one by 100, which will be 0.07. 30% divided by 100 is 0.3 as a decimal, and 250%, we want to divide that by 100, So that's 2.5. Question 4. Write a quantity as a percentage. To do this, if we have 50 cents out of $2.50, you must make sure that your quantities are in the same units first. You can't have one of them in cents and the other one in dollars. So I find it easier to take the bigger unit, which would be dollars in this case, and turn that into the smaller unit, which is cents. To turn dollars into cents, you need to times by 100, which makes that 250 cents. So now if I read this again and it says I have 50 cents out of 250 cents, out of means you could write that as a fraction, 50 out of 250. I've made that into a fraction. To turn a fraction into a percentage, you must times by 100. And that's our working out. Now we type it in. 50 over 250 times by 100 is 20%. Let's try that again. If a score of 23 out of 30, so 23 out of 30 is our fraction, and to turn our fraction to a percentage, we must times by 100. So let's type that in. 23 out of 30 times that by 100. Oh, that's an unusual looking fraction, so let's press SD. So this is a recurring decimal. Well, let's round this to one decimal place, which would make this 76.7%. Part C, write 500 grams out of 4 kilograms. So I have different units here, so I'm going to change the kilograms into grams by timesing by 1,000. That will make it 4,000 grams. So 500 grams out of 4,000 grams is our fraction. Then we times that by 100 to turn it into a percentage. Type it in and press the SD button to get a decimal. So it's 12.5%. Okay, the last type of question, we need to be able to find a percentage of something. So if you go to the shop and you find out that there's a 15% sale or a 20% sale, how much does that actually make? What is 15% of $35? To find this amount, a percentage is always out of 100. So you always put the percentage over 100. Of means you want to times that by the amount of money, which was 35. So that's it. You do 15 over 100, then you times it by the 35. As a decimal is 5.25, and that would be dollars. So if you were getting a 15% discount, you'd be saving $5.25. Let's try another one. 45% of 80. 45% means 45 out of 100. Of means times the 80. So let's type that in. 45 out of 100 times by 80 is 36, and that will be in kilograms because my quantity was in kilograms. Part C, 23%, which means 23 over 100 of $74.30. Type it in. 23 over 100 times by $74.30 is 17.089. Now, if this is money, we typically round to 2 decimal places. So that would be 17.09 dollars. And a word question. About 80% of the mass of a human is water. If Carla weighs 60 kilograms, how many kilograms of water make up her body weight? So this is asking me to find 80% of her 60 kilograms. So let's do the same kind of working out as what we were doing in question 6. In question 5. 80% means 80 over 100. Then I want to times that by the 60. Type it in, 80 over 100 times that by the 60 means 48 kilograms of her body weight is water. Okay, so that's the end of our theory section for today. Your practice starts on the next page.